Welcome to the worst of the best podcast. You wanted the best. Well, they didn't freaking make it. So here's what you get. From Canada, Ryan and
Jason. Welcome to the worst of the best podcast. I'm your host, and with me today, as always, is my brother Jason.
Hi.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited to do this episode. We've done this before, at least Ruben and I did this one year, and I always meant to do it every year. We always do our celebrity death one, which I always think is a fun episode to do. But we did one year, I forget what it was, but we did I think it was 2019 or 2018 top Google searches. I thought it'd be fun to do that again. You know, it's now January 2022. Let's look back at what general public of the world Googled throughout the year the most in 2021. So these are the best or top searches that Google logged, at least family-friendly searches.
Yeah. I'm coming in this completely cold. I did no research, so I'm coming in just with no understanding of what people have cared about to Google. So I'm actually kind of interested in this myself. No pre-thoughts. So this is right off the cuff.
No, that's perfect. You're like one of our two listeners, Jason. You are coming in blind.
This is like a reaction podcast.
Well, and I'm the same way. I did a cursory glance at of course, at the 10 top searches in 2021, just to see if it even be worth talking about. But the idea is for this episode, again, if you're joining us for the first time, we take the top of or the best of whatever the topic is. At the end of the episode, independent of each other, Jason and I will then pick whatever our criteria is. For that reason, we will pick what is the worst thing from that list. So this one will be, whatever we think is maybe the most least interesting, or if we were to Google the same thing, how much do we care to know the answer? So we're going to go in blind too. So what we're going to do is, it's a little game for both Jason and myself, really, and the listener. We're going to give you the topic that was Googled, share what we know, or maybe we've Googled it ourselves throughout the year, see if we fall into if we've added to that count, and share what we think the reason why this may have been Googled. And then Jason and I are going to do a quick Google ourselves. We're going to Google live. Don't worry, it'll be edited, folks. You're not going to hear us sitting there Googling. But we're going to then Google live and say, hey, this could have been the reason why this thing was Googled. So it's kind of like a game as to why was this topic. And there's a couple in here, Jay. I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw the list, I was like, what? This was this number, and number one surprised me. So, okay.
Let's start from number 10, right?
Yeah, because 10 is the least. So number one did surprise me. Okay, so number 10, Jason, Squid Game. Have you heard of this show?
I have heard of it. I have not watched it. I know it's a Netflix show, and I believe, is it set in Korea?
It is a Korean or a Korean production, and
a Korean production.
Yeah, and
so that's about as much as I know.
That's pretty good. It's a Netflix show. Took the world by storm. I saw this show. I don't know if I ever Googled it. I think I just went right to just download it and watch it on Netflix because I didn't want to get any spoilers or anything. So I'm pretty certain I didn't Google Squid Game ever. Maybe I did Google it. You know, it's funny. I probably did Google it after I watched it. So after I'd seen it, I didn't care about spoilers. So you know what? I think I did Google this after I watched it. But I went into the show blind. I won't spoil anything on this episode, but it is worth the buzz. I'm kind of surprised it made the top 10, but it shows you how big this must have been for Netflix to have this on their streaming service.
It's fascinating. I still won't Google it.
It is a lot of fun. It's unique. Okay. It's different. It really is. It's a good study on human behavior. It's outlandish in its, would this game show ever happen? Well, of course not. I don't think so. But it's like if you were to combine The Running Man with Lord of the Flies and Survivor.
Give it a couple years. We're pretty darn close to a lot of these scenarios, or like these themes anyway.
Yeah, you're right. Who knows? A lot of fun, though. If you've seen this, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is a lot of fun. If you haven't seen it, it is worth the buzz. It is a lot of fun. It's not for children. I would say the minimum age, my 15-year-old watched it, and I think that's fine. I think 13 and above is fine. That's just me speaking as a parent.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because yesterday I was just eating dinner, and I really actually watched TV, but I sat down and I was putting something together, a piece of Anyway, it doesn't matter what I was putting together. But I was like, I want something in the background. And I was just flipping through, I think it was Netflix.
Right.
They had like an R rating on it. Is that what that R was? There's R rating.
Maybe. I thought they had ages on there. Okay.
Maybe it was an age. But I thought, is there really anything worth watching nowadays when it's not R-rated? First of all, does anybody pay attention to these ratings anymore?
I don't think the ratings don't mean anything anymore.
No.
And in fact, they don't do ratings so much as they actually just say what the content is, which is better.
Right, which is better. Yeah.
Saying this show has cursing throughout. Okay, but there's no violence. Some people might be opposed to violence, or this show might have a lot of violence but no cursing. So I like how it does say whatever. But even then, it was like I watch Everyone Loves Raymond. That's one of my favorite comedy shows, and I'm rewatching it on Netflix, and it has on that sex and language. I'm like, okay, no. So this is not sex. There's no sex.
Accurate.
No, it's not accurate at all. But they actually has
behind the closed doors.
Sure, yes, they have kids on the show, so there was sex happened to create the children, but there's never been a love scene. There's never been a love scene in Raymond. There's like innuendo or adult talk about married relationships, but nothing that's gratuitous, even worth a warning. This was a show that was on ABC or whatever in the 90s.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Typical sitcom.
Yeah, anyway, I just thought that was funny when I see language and sex on Everyone Loves Raymond. Oh, yeah. Though Patricia Heaton, who plays Deborah on the show, she's very cute. I would have complained had they shown anything. All right.
So there's nothing you need to Google there for us because we understand.
No, we're 1 for 1, Jason.
Yeah,
we're 1 for 1. Squid Game, we know it, we understand it, we know what's going on. I've actually seen it, so okay, let's see if the next one we'd have to Google. Coming in at number 9. Now this one surprised me because I never even heard of this as being a topic, let alone this made the 9th most Googled thing in the world. Georgia Senate race. I have to admit, I was surprised and confused, equally so, that the Georgia Senate race was the 9th most Googled item in 2021. I know political stuff is popular, but I'm usually thinking president of the United States, that kind of stuff, or presidential run campaigns. I can see that being Googled a lot, but I actually don't know why the state of Georgia was such a busy activity on Google.
Well, Herschel Walker. Is that the senator or this person who is being referenced in this? What's the actual number 9 says exactly what?
It just says Georgia Senate race.
Okay. So I believe that has something to do with Herschel Walker, and it's probably because of his association with Donald Trump. He's been a family friend of the Trumps. So that's going to bring the spotlight to him. He's, I believe, a Hall of Famer football player and an amazing athlete. So his association with Trump and being a big Trump supporter, I suspect, is what brought the spotlight onto that particular Senate race.
A football player is just a popular guy?
No, that's where he gained his popularity. He transferred from football into other areas of his life. And then he is a very well-liked individual. But the counter to all that is going to be, the controversial counter to all that will be his association with the Trump family.
Sure. Well,
and he has been a family friend of the Trumps for years and years. I also believe that may have something to do with, that other football league that was around in the 80s or 90s?
XFL or whatever.
The XFL. Did Trump have anything to do with that?
I think he was part owner with that. And I think, or something. Yeah,
and I think Herschel played in that league as well.
Okay.
There's a connection between the Trumps and Herschel Walker, and it's been there for years and years and years. That's probably what is bringing the attention more than just a Senate race. It's Herschel Walker being a Hall of Fame football player and his association with Trump, which everything with Trump is obviously polarizing. So that brings attention regardless of where you stand politically.
That's pretty good, Jay. I knew nothing about this or Herschel Walker's involvement with Trump or him running for Senate or anything. It's just pretty good you were able to pull that off the top of your head. I did a quick Google search, of course, and right here, one of the headlines or from Google is it says here, poll shows Herschel Walker far ahead in Georgia's Senate primary. And this was in November 1st of 2021, so it must be the same news story that we're talking about. But it says here, top Senate Republicans who once expressed their concerns aloud have also come on board, including Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who endorsed the Trump-backed Walker last week. Results from the poll conducted in October shows that the primary electorate had coalesced around Walker before Senate GOP leaders had changed course and publicly offered their support last week. Endorsements that also followed news of Walker's $3.7 million third-quarter fundraising haul. As we know, whoever raises the most money usually wins. His tagline or his, like Make America Great Again, his is Save America.
Did he win? I haven't heard anything about win or lose or when that election is. I just know that he's associated with Trump. He is family friends with the Trump family for years. And I think that goes back to the XFL. I didn't know that the election has happened or.
Yeah, interesting. People obviously are like yelling at their computers or at their phones with their knowledge of this. We have zero knowledge. We could be totally off base here. I just Googled who won Georgia election 2021. I don't know if it's governor or Senate or what. There's a runoff election. It's all very confusing to me. I don't know politics.
He's running Senate for senator. He's not a governor. So
okay, there you go. All right.
You could Google Senate.
And there's
Did Herschel Walker win the Senate election?
Sure. It might not be done yet. It's hard. It's hard to say. Here, Herschel Walker, Ballotpedia. The primary will occur May 24th. There you go.
Oh, okay. So it's a couple months away. Back in November, like that's a long ways away for.
Well, that's the thing about these political stuff. They start bidding for the presidency 2 years before the turnover.
It's in May.
Right.
Yet back in 2021, it's number 9th Google
already. Yeah.
Thing. Already, it's like wow.
I would assume this top 21 Google searches I'd assume it's probably U.S.
I was going to say this sounds very U.S.
And that's fine. Let's be honest. U.S. politics and U.S. entertainment, U.S. whatever. It's pretty worldwide type news. So we apologize to our Canadian and European listeners, the few that we have. But I would say, I do know the stats. 90% of our listeners are from the U.S. So, okay.
90%. So
2, 3. Thanks, Dion, our one brother there in the States. Okay, so number 8, the stimulus check.
Oh, okay. How do I get my stimulus check? How do I get money for doing nothing? It's probably why it was Googled.
Stimulus checks are checks sent by the U.S. government to taxpayers to boost their spending power and spur economic activity. See, stimulus, you're still to get your butt out of your seat and go shop. Stimulus checks are either mailed to the taxpayers or an equivalent tax credit is applied to their tax filing. Well, there are limits to who gets the money. Individuals making $75,000 or less, or married couples filing jointly who make $150,000 or less will get the full amount. The total amount of the tax credit is $3,600 for children under 6 years old and $3,000 for children aged 6 to 17. So it's a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
Now we get those in Canada. We call it, I think it's called family allowance or something like that. Or
no, this is specific to the COVID. This is part of the COVID relief stuff. This has nothing to do with a tax break or anything. This is specific to COVID.
Oh, this is they're there, so you don't have a job anymore because of COVID?
Right, or to help fill the gaps. Yeah.
Okay. People are probably Googling, when is my check coming? How many checks do I get a year? Can I live off these checks? Do I ever have to work again?
What if I make $76,000?
Yeah.
I can't get a check? Let's just say Walmart's very happy that people are getting stimulus checks.
That would be an interesting study. How much of Walmart's...
How much of the gross income this year came from stimulus checks?
It's almost like the government is literally funding Walmart to exist.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, that's funny. It's actually people that work at Walmart that need the checks.
Yeah, and then they go to the McDonald's that's
inside Walmart.
Inside of Walmart at lunch.
Stimulus checks. Oh, good. At least they had the internet to Google it.
Yeah, they weren't hurting that bad.
They went to the local library to Google stimulus checks.
The libraries were probably shut down because of COVID. So.
That's true. You know what? If you need it, you need the help, that's great. We hope you got the help. Yeah. We hope everyone's getting the help they need. All joking aside. Okay. All right. Number 8, AMC stock. Now, AMC is the movie chain.
Yeah.
I'm interested in looking up stock, though.
Well, they had that weird big spike. Remember GameStop had a big spike in there. I think it was GameStop. People want to find out how to make money. Where can they find the shortcut? That makes sense. The fact that what are we on, 8?
Number 8.
That's a lot of people trying to jump onto another gravy train.
Yes, I guess they're figuring because of COVID, stock is down maybe, but they try to get in on it before it goes up.
Yeah, which then obviously drives up stock prices. But anyway, I don't fully understand the stock market per se. But
no, stock in general, I have no idea. I could watch a movie about the stock market and follow the plot line, but I wouldn't know how to do anything with the stock. Number 8, though. Can AMC stock bounce back from its 74% drop? That was 1 day ago. Oof. Could AMC become a penny stock in 22? Why GameStop, AMC, and Genius Brands, and Bed Bath & Beyond? There's a whole bunch of these. Shares are falling today. That was a day ago.
There was a big dip The stock that I have is I got a few Tesla shares. Not to brag, but I'm just saying I look at it every once in a while. I'm like, I'll kind of look at my phone and go like, oh, I wonder how Tesla's doing. You know, one day they're doing great. And then you wake up the next morning and you go like, oh, I wonder how they've started out today. And it's like, why did they just drop so much? It's, you know, I don't understand the ins and outs.
No, I'm just guessing because nobody's going to the theaters.
Yeah, but I just don't understand why, you know, like they say, why do they drop? You know, one day they're doing great and the next day it's a complete fall off. I don't understand the volatility of it all.
All right, number 7, Mega Millions.
Fascinating how so far 3 have to do with money.
Yeah, well, yes, there definitely is a connection here. And again, I said at the beginning of the show that Ruben and I did this, you know, I'd say it was 3 years ago-ish, 3 or 4 years ago, we did this top searches of 2018 or whatever it was. And I don't recall anything about money at the time. I don't recall. Maybe there was. But yeah, we got the stimulus check. We got the AMC stock, which of course involves people putting money in the stock. You got 500,000 people who are shareholders, right? And now Mega Millions. So it's almost like people are like, hey, if my stock is falling, I'm not getting my stimulus check. What's the chances I can win some money here? But was the money of the Mega Millions, the lottery, was it exceptionally high in 2021 or something?
I have no idea. I heard nothing about it. It's got to be high. I bet most people are going like, how much is the Mega Millions?
For 2022, January 21st, tomorrow as of this recording, the Mega Millions jackpot is climbing to 376 million.
Wow, that'd help, eh?
Yeah. I don't know if that's exceptionally high or if that's normal for this amount.
No idea.
So the Mega Millions it's also known as the big game, and it's been around since 96. It's multi-jurisdictional lottery game.
Yeah.
As of January 30th, 2020, it is offered to 45 states. Mega Millions is drawn at 11 o'clock Eastern Time on Tuesdays and Friday evenings, including holidays. Want to hear some winners?
Who won in 2021?
Oh, here we go. So in 2021, Jay, we had a big winner in Michigan. Second largest jackpot in history. They walked away with $740 million.
What? That's awesome.
Okay, Jay, if you won $740 million, give me some things. What would Jason's shopping spree be?
I actually think about this often because I take it from time to time. The first thing I would do is pay off all my family's debts.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah. So you'll be helped. All my brothers would be helped. Parents would be helped. That would be the first priority. My children obviously would be taken care of.
Yeah. We're very similar so far. Yeah. Same idea. Help your family, put stuff away for your kids.
I mean, really from there on, it kind of varies and jumps around depending on my mood. I mean, there's a few things that my hobby in the background of life, photography. So I'd make sure I buy the best gear, the best lenses.
But you'd be so rich with $740 million, you could hire people to edit your photos and take care. You say, here's the photos, pick the best and put them all together for me. You could actually hire somebody to do that.
I mean, that's the point of the hobby, though, is you enjoy the experience. I mean, travel, right? I mean, go to these places that you never...
Right. Take some real photographs.
As far as, take some photographs of locations and that you would otherwise not have the experience to be able to do. I actually think I would just almost spend much of the rest of my life traveling the world. Life has a lot to offer, and it's often not right within your own geographical locations. I mean, there's like going to the pyramids or Machu Picchu or the Antarctic, the Galapagos Islands, all these locations that you see on TV and in movies and National Geographics and whatnot. That's what I would want to experience.
That sounds awesome. I'm the same way. Yeah, experience things from fine food, restaurants, travel, concerts, events, that kind of stuff.
Concerts. You know, my favorite band is Guns N' Roses. Maybe travel the world following them around.
So you get to see the sites where they are, yeah. People do that kind of stuff when they have that kind of money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, lucky them. There's some clues here as to why this was such a searched item, too, in 2021. In January 22nd and then in January 20th, so I would assume most of the searches happen around this time, the second and third largest cash value tickets were held. Cash value for the second was $776 million, and then number 3 was $546 million. Maryland and Minnesota held those. So there you go. So those people are probably Googling that. But also throughout 2021, you had one for $315, one for $314, and one for $500 million. Big wins there.
Oh, yeah.
The highest jackpot ever, Jay? $1.5 billion in 2016.
Where's that person today? In hiding?
It was split with 3 people. So the single most was $1.5 billion. but they got 880 million out of it. 880 million. The largest jackpot for a single ticket, South Carolina. Can you imagine where they are right now?
Yeah.
They're not working at Walmart anymore, I'll tell you that much.
Or collecting a stimulus check. Or maybe they are. They probably found some loophole.
All right, number 5. You've heard this name. I'm pretty naive, I admit, when it comes to news, so this is really exposing me, this whole list. I got Squid Game. Number 5, Brian Laundrie?
Oh, yeah. He's that guy that killed his girlfriend when they're on that road trip.
Oh, I do know the story.
Yeah.
Oh, right. He died by suicide.
Yeah. Yeah. They found his remains in, I think, a water, like a river or something, confirmed a gunshot wound.
So Brian Laundrie, whose disappearance sparked a nationwide manhunt in September 2021 after his fiancée Gabby Petito went missing and was later found murdered, killed himself. Landry's remains were found in a Florida nature preserve 1 month after the death of his fiancée Petito, who was found strangled to death on the edge of Wyoming's Grand Teton National Park, where the couple had been traveling together in a van. The 23-year-old was named a person of interest in the case after he returned to his parents' home in Florida alone early September, then disappeared himself. Wow. Now, if your son came home without his girlfriend or fiance who was dead or missing...
I have no understanding of how that would feel.
No, but I mean, the parents is weird.
They kind of got implicated a little bit as maybe hiding information. They weren't very cooperative with the police. They know that Laundrie went to their house. They weren't really forthcoming with them about... It didn't appear that they were really very cooperative, withholding information as to where his whereabouts might be, what his association was with the disappearance of his girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and then at some point he left their home and was never to be seen again alive. I think from the outward appearances, they weren't very cooperative. Yeah. Me, I would be very cooperative because I did not participate in my child's behavior.
Yeah,
I can't be implicated with what they do.
I'd be like, dude, you got to talk to the police. You can't run away.
I'd be in shock. I'd be in complete shock if I found my son coming home, and I'd be like, what is going on? Yeah, would I condone any of it? Would I try to assist him in massaging the truth or not cooperating with the authorities? Absolutely not. Yeah. You'd be anything other than cooperative and very sad.
Well, to say that America is not obsessed with
true crime.
True crime, yeah, it's true.
It is a weird phenomenon. I mean, peripherally, you hear these stories, but I'm not really these, true crime podcasts are very popular. People read the books.
We always said we should have done a true crime podcast. We might have some listeners.
I find it very hard to hear what victims go through. Kind of peripherally, it's intriguing, but I really don't want to know the suffering of people in their last moments of despair and loneliness. It makes me very sad, honestly.
I've watched my fair share of true crime documentaries, and I've read some books, and I don't really listen to podcasts, but I've done documentaries. I like the audiovisual documentaries. I used to watch 2020 or that kind of Dateline as when I was younger, so I definitely am intrigued by it, not by the suffering, of course. I don't think, but just it's the study of how do people get where they are? How did this
understanding
happen?
The criminal.
Yeah.
But when you look at the whole story of the crime, I start to maybe empathize. I get too empathetical with the big picture of, and I think of the victim, the last moments, the pure fear. I'm like, sir, I got to tap out. I can't watch horror movies very well. Like say a Saw, I just can't.
That's just fair. It's not for everybody. Why don't we skip number 4 just right now? We'll go to number 3 because number 3 is actually the victim, Gabby Petito. She was the number 3 searched. And that kind of makes sense.
It was a massive story, that's for sure.
It was huge. And she was gorgeous. I don't know if you saw her. Just a very attractive young woman. And just sweet, petite. It just seems crazy how life, this is what I was getting at, what I find, this is what I mean, is what I find interesting and horribly fascinating in a horrible way. She lives this life of whatever, and this happens to meet this guy. And little did she know when she met this guy, that this same guy would be the same guy that strangles you to death. It's a interesting psychological journey of how did they meet, in what fashion did they meet, and they went on this road trip in a van, and they Instagrammed their story. It goes from that kind of moment of sharing our life together to he kills her. Oh, I wish he didn't kill himself. I would love to have an interview with him. Like, what are you doing? Why did you, obviously he did it. He was never officially found guilty. I don't think, was he?
Well, no, he never was caught.
Yeah.
We really don't know who, as far as technically, but we all know that he did it, obviously.
I have a theory. He probably didn't want to ask for directions.
Did you see their interaction with the Utah police?
That's the only thing I've seen of them is, very odd behavior.
There are stories how they collaborated between the two with them being separated from the police. They seem to, just their interactions that morning and all the rest. Could you imagine being the police officers?
Yeah, it's not their fault.
Hindsight being 2020.
Right, of course.
Having dealt with them, I'm sure they're going like, if only. I'm sure a lot of if only we could see that this is a domestically abusive relationship that could spiral. But I think their hands were also tied, just law-wise. There's only so much they really could do.
So I don't know what it was. Did she have any marks on her? It's one of those things I've seen enough TV shows.
I think he did.
Oh, there you go. So it was one of those.
So there was a little bit of tit for tat between the two of them.
It's hindsight. You're right, Jay. It's hindsight. Had they driven away and they went to couples therapy, maybe the police would have been applauded. Hey, you guys separated them, and the cooler heads prevailed, and they went about their life together. Yeah, there's no way of them knowing that this guy was going to.
99.9% of these scenarios that they were dealing with would not result in a murder.
No,
maybe unhealthy relationship, but not murder. Murder is going to be a very rare outcome.
One of the two have to say, hey, that person hit me or assaulted me. I want to charge them with assault. And then the police say, okay, we got to bring them in. But if nobody's saying that anyone did anything to anyone, even if they know, they actually can't just pull you in unless they've witnessed it.
Yeah. The police discussed these scenarios between the thing was two or three of them. Anyway, three of them. There was a female and two male officers that I remember. Right. And they kind of talked about it. I think they really were like, our hands are kind of tied. And they did the best they could under the circumstances of the information that they had. Now, if they went by their gut, maybe their gut would tell them to do something maybe a little bit more drastic, but they had to kind of follow the letter of the law in this situation. So I think it was a little bit.
Hey, Jay, that was a fun discussion. We should do a true crime podcast. That's what they do. They talk about the news. They get their feelings on it. We just did a mini. Welcome to True Crime with Jason and Ryan. This is episode 1. We're recovering. That's almost what they do, and they get so many downloads. All they do is read the Wikipedia page,
rehash,
and they get 10,000 downloads an episode. It's so depressing. Okay, now we'll go back to number 4, because 3 and 5 obviously went together. So number 4, another non-controversial topic, is Kyle Rittenhouse. You ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah, how's he doing?
He's better now. He had a rough year there, not knowing where his life was going to go.
Charges: first-degree intentional homicide, first-degree reckless homicide, attempted first-degree intentional homicide, and first-degree recklessly endangering safety. 2 counts of the last one. His verdict: not guilty on all counts. On August 25th, 2020, Kyle Rittenhouse, a 17-year-old from Illinois, fatally shot 2 men and wounded another in Wisconsin. The shootings occurred during the protests, riots, and civil unrest that followed the non-fatal shooting of a black man, Jacob Blake, by a white police officer. Rittenhouse and the 3 men he shot were white. At trial, Rittenhouse used the affirmative defense of self-defense and was acquitted of all charges. Rittenhouse was armed with a semi-automatic AR-15 style rifle and joined a group of armed men in Kenosha who stated that they were in Kenosha to protect businesses.
I actually watched that unfold in real time.
People were posting on Twitter right away.
The riots.
And
so you were watching that live?
And
too?
They were like, oh, there he is. He's at the gas station behind the van or whatever.
So that first guy that he shot and killed between the cars, I saw that guy die there. Yeah, obviously people are going to have their own conclusions as to whether he should be there in the first place or not. It's kind of like 99.9% of the time, it's not going to end up the way that it did. It's like saying you got hit by a car crossing the road. Well, yeah, if I wasn't there, I would not have been hit.
It is a polarizing topic.
It's a very polarizing topic.
We got multiple right-wing politicians and figures who welcomed the acquittal, stating the shooters were self-defense, and even President Joe Biden called for the jury's verdict to be respected because he didn't want any more riots. Then you had left-wing politicians and figures criticize the verdict as a miscarriage of justice, saying that the acquittal was emblematic of racial double standards in the American justice system. And then you had gun control advocates proclaimed fears that the verdict would embolden vigilantism. Yeah, it's interesting how you got a riot within a riot.
Yeah, they want to, whatever narrative you want to follow, whatever political leanings you have, you're going to twist the circumstances to feed those narratives and to regurgitate it back to your base. If he didn't have that gun, they may not have chased him. But let's put all things in perspective. They chased him. One guy actually, I think, had a gun. this video of him holding a handgun. Right. So what was he supposed to do? Drop the gun and try to fist fight them off of him? I don't know. Was he supposed to die before he started protecting himself? It's a tough one.
So the first confrontation was between Rittenhouse and Rosenbaum.
Yeah.
And a witness said that Rosenbaum and the other protesters were moving towards Rittenhouse, who was trying to evade them. Video footage that showed Rittenhouse being pursued across a parking lot by a group of people. Rosenbaum threw a plastic bag containing socks, underwear, and deodorant at Rittenhouse. Joshua Zeminski fired a shot into the air. Rittenhouse stopped running and turned towards the sound of the shot. Rittenhouse testified at trial that prior to being chased by Rosenbaum, he heard another man tell Rosenbaum to get him and kill him, but also knew that Rosenbaum was unarmed. Rittenhouse testified that he aimed his gun at Rosenbaum to deter him from pursuing him further.
I remember earlier in the night I was watching, there was a whole grouping of people. Rosenbaum stood out. He was a hothead. He's a small guy. And of all the people, he stuck out to me. And I said to myself, this guy, he just wants to fight. It was about a half an hour before the shootings. And I said to myself, this guy is a real hothead, like kind of a small man's disease, because he was a small guy, short in stature. Wow, he is just hot. Half an hour later, I'm like, that's the guy. The guy is lying on the ground, dead. And half an hour earlier, I recognized that he was just a very aggressive individual. And of course, he was also a child molester. And
both victims that were killed seemed to be, I hate to say it, but not that great of people.
Yeah, all three of them had a checkered past. That doesn't mean they should necessarily have died that night, but it shows that they don't really have boundaries.
Right.
And they look like that they were going to cross personal boundaries with Rittenhouse too, right?
I don't have enough knowledge of the case, obviously, to state one way.
I just remember watching it happen in real time. And at the time, I didn't think one thing or the other than these people are chasing him. He has a gun. He used it to protect himself. I didn't realize while watching that it would turn into what it turned into. I had no idea that it would. I would just assume justice would occur at some point, that he would be found, and obviously he was, and all the rest is history. I didn't think one thing or the other than he looked like he was being pursued, and that would be a scary situation. And he happened to have a gun and used it. Unfortunate for Kyle, the biggest critique really is he should not have been there to begin with.
These type of events, this is just me speaking, maybe naively so or ignorantly so, I understand. These types of events, I just want to go to them because you just know there's going to be something's going to happen. As
you say that, what I'm thinking of is my children. What would I say if my child was 15 or 16, whatever Rittenhouse was? Hey, it's probably not the place to go. He had good intentions, I suspect, protect property and everything else, but that's not the place to be.
Yeah. Hey, again, another true crime podcast segment.
Yeah, there we go.
So number 2, DMX, Jason.
What? Really?
DMX.
Rapper dying of drug overdose?
Yeah, I guess people were, wow. I guess upon hearing his death, they were all Googling his life.
Huh.
He was young. He was 50 when he died. He did die of a cocaine-induced heart attack.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Did he have mental health problems? Maybe, for sure. Who knows? Whether you're a rapper or rock and roll star, you and I have lost our fair share of people that we enjoy in the art world.
It's tragic. Completely tragic. Yeah.
He had 17 children.
What? Wow.
I wonder what his will looked like. So what was his net worth?
Not as much as we might think it would be. I don't know.
No. Unfortunately, due to a series of financial and legal issues, he has a net worth of negative $1 million. Sorry. It's less than zero in 2021. He had no money to give his 17 kids. Wow. I mean, it's sad. To be the star that he is and to be the second most Googled person in 2021 because of your death means you had fans. I mean, he had some sort of public worth.
Buying cocaine is a
expensive habit.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Very few positive, uplifting stories that are Googled in 2021.
Well, maybe number 1 is more positive. Sure, going back to DMX, though, I'm just surprised at his level of interest more than some of the actual. Well, Squid Game seems like a more interesting thing to Google than Googling DMX. I mean, you hear, across the news wire or whatever, DMX dead, heart attack induced by cocaine use. Outside of that, I'm not sure what else is needed to be Googled.
It's weird. He died, but I guess people just heard that he died and went. I guess he's got that many fans and people that they Googled his
Interesting.
cause of death, or who knows. Number 2
Yeah,
most Googled
interesting.
was DMX. Yeah. Well, it's probably his 17 kids.
And their kids and their kids' kids.
You know what it was? Their 17 kids Googled that their father had died. Then they Googled his net worth, realized he didn't have any. So then they Googled if they're eligible for a stimulus check, realized that they weren't, and then they started going for the Mega Millions. It's all one full circle. It's all making sense now.
Yeah,
Number 1. Do you have any idea who's number 1?
I don't.
Okay.
No
Well,
idea.
I know you'll like the answer, Jason. This is a positive for you, at least. You'll like it. You'll be like, oh, cool.
Oh, really?
But
Okay.
I want to hear your thoughts as to why you think it was the number 1 most Googled subject in 2021. Are you ready? NBA.
That is interesting.
Obviously, it's a very
popular.
popular sport. Is there any reason why 2021 would make it such a big search topic? Is it LeBron James, maybe? But he's always been I don't know.
He's been with the Lakers for a couple of years. They won the championship the year before. So I'm not sure what the uptick in 2021 would actually make it a number 1 searched Google.
Yeah. Well, I just Googled it right now just to see what headlines are today in 2022 at the beginning of the year. We've got Raptor talk. We've got trade deadline talk. We've got All-Star game talk. Of course, LeBron Lakers talk.
Maybe Google NBA top stories of 2021.
All right, here we go. So according to the score, the top 10 NBA stories were, you might know this, I don't know any of this stuff, Zion's delayed recovery from his broken foot, Portland in panic mode, Nikola Jokic defies MVP odds, Jokic, thank you. Blockbuster swap sends Westbrook home.
Russell Westbrook went to LA, but I'm not sure that would bump up. I mean, obviously,
That's number
all
5.
these.
Number 7. Number 6, Curry makes 3-point history.
Okay.
Number 5, the Nets form Big 3 with Harden.
Yeah.
Number 4, Kyrie holds out.
That
It's a
could.
COVID story.
Yeah, he decided not to play. He is now, I can't remember the exact scenarios. I think he plays away games. The Nets didn't allow him to play in the building because of the COVID rules of the state in
So
which they
anything kind
play.
of COVID related might be a bit of a bump.
Yeah. But I mean, that's according to this article, that's not even the number 1 reason story, but it is a story.
Simmons saga leaves Sixers hanging. Number 3.
Yeah.
Number 2, Bucks snap 50-year championship drought.
That's a big deal. You know, when anytime a team breaks a curse, right? There was a 50-year curse.
So they won the championship.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I always like when I hear a team that's a half a century to win a title. That's cool. Good for them.
Yeah. And Giannis, he's obviously a massive superstar and a good story.
And number 1, Jason, speaking of COVID, is COVID-19 Mars, a 3rd season of the NBA.
Yeah.
That was the number 1 story, according to the score.
I still don't understand how those could add up to the number 1 Googled
But there you go.
NBA. Yeah.
NBA was the number 1 Googled subject in 2021.
Fascinating.
So there's our top 10. We learned some stuff. We had our own discussions. I learned something new. The way I'm going to do this one, Jay, myself, and you're certainly welcome to join the same reasoning, is now that we've talked about what we've talked about, you have to go back and learn more about 90 of these things. Go back, Google, learn some more. Just do a 2-sentence synopsis on 9 of these subjects, and you get to not do one on one of them. You know?
Sure, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Like which one is
Yeah.
the least interesting? I don't want to learn anymore. I don't really care.
It's easy for me. Can I pick mine up right off the top? Okay, go through the 10
Okay, yeah,
real
sorry.
quick.
Here's the 10.
Go
Number
through the
10,
10.
Squid Game. Georgia's Senate race. Stimulus check. AMC stock. Mega Millions. Brian Landry. Or Landry, I'm not sure to be honest with you. Kyle Rittenhouse. Gabby Petito. No problem Googling her. DMX. Well, she's very cute. NBA. All right.
Yeah, for me, it's Herschel Walker.
Yeah, I was going to say the Georgia
Senate
Senate race.
I'm more interested in AMC stock crashing.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see why that stock was such a big end. Stimulus check was somewhat interesting. Actually, when I was Googling, I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was that much, and this is age group gets that much, and you can't have this much money to get that much. At least it was fun to talk about. But the Georgia Senate race, it was even hard to Google. I was confused what people were Googling. It was a frustrating part of our conversation.
Yeah, the Senate race. That's an easy pick. But I am confused by the NBA being number 1.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Join us in January of 2023, where Jason and I would assume we'll do this again. It was fun. Go
Yeah, I
over
like that.
the top searches of 2022. Remember, in front of every silver lining, there's a cloud. For Google searches this year, it was the Georgia Senate race. All right, there you go, Jay. We did it. We got through it. Woo!
Gamma Gator Productions.